So for TFCB, we're starting with Healthy Living Library. This is a series that takes a close look at prevalent health concerns for young adults, addressing both physical health and mental health. And this season, we have two titles, More Than Stress and Not Just About Food. The prevalence of anxiety disorders among teens today makes More Than Stress a timely and informative book for readers. Many teens struggle with anxiety disorders. The symptoms include elevated stress hormone levels, depression, heart problems, and readers will learn about the causes, symptoms, and diagnosis of anxiety disorders, as well as coping strategies and treatments. Not Just About Food looks at disordered eating among teens and young adults. With over 30 million people diagnosed with an eating disorder in the U.S., this book will help readers learn about how eating disorders are diagnosed and different types of disordered eating. In both titles, resources for identifying, treating, living with, and recovering from the disorders are provided. Next. Imagine looking out from your 18th floor apartment in the middle of the city and seeing trees right in front of you. In an effort to stem climate change, reduce pollution, combat heat, and protect biodiversity, architects are teaming up with botanists, urban wildlife ecologists, and other scientists to design high-rise forests, living walls, and vertical farms in some of the world's most populated places. These projects are happening around the world, and they will not only change the urban landscape, but they will provide urban dwellers a healthier place to live and work. For Buildings That Breathe, author and environmental journalist Nancy Castaldo connected with architect Stefano Boeri at the World Forum on Urban Forests and was invited to his office in Milan, where she visited Bosco Verticale, the first high-rise forest. Planted with over 750 trees and 5,000 shrubs on 2 apartment towers, the project provides an urban habitat for birds, insects, and people while creating a microclimate that produces oxygen and provides shade for the high-rise residents. The book explores Bosco Verticale as well as the planned Yuchao Forest City in China and other green architecture projects around the world, looking at how people are working together to change the urban landscape of the future. Next. In Zest, our first title is Teen Innovators, which tells the stories of discovery and the inventions of 9 young students. For example, 12-year-old Gitanjali Rao, appalled by the tragedy in Flint, Michigan, found a cheaper, more effective way to test for lead in drinking water. 4 undocumented teenagers from an underfunded high school in Phoenix built an underwater robot from spare and found parts, and substituting hard work for ingenuity and ingenuity for money, they actually won the national robotics competition, beating a well-funded team from MIT. And while each profile of the teens and their inventions tells a different story, the reader soon sees the common threads. Science educator and professor Fred Estes explores the motivation, challenges, and lives of these teen scientists and explains the science behind each invention simply and clearly. Readers will see how the science they study in school relates to these important discoveries. Next. As a teenager, Mary Edwards Walker determined she would no longer wear the confining corsets and long skirts society dictated that women wear at the time, and instead she opted for pants with a short skirt, setting the stage for her lifelong controversial efforts to change expectations. She was one of the first women to earn a degree in medicine, championed women's rights, social justice, and access to health care. She became a Civil War surgeon and a spy, was captured and arrested by the Confederacy, and she is still the only woman to have been awarded the Medal of Honor. Written by young adult author Sarah Latta, I Could Not Do Otherwise teaches readers about Walker's determination and strength of conviction, as well as her complete disregard of what others thought of her unconventional style. The slogan, "Women's rights are human rights," is a direct descendant of Walker's words. The recognition of the individuality of women is simply an acknowledgement of human rights. Next. In this fresh and clear-sighted guide, YA author Hallie Bondi uses her real-world experience as a former teenage babysitter and current mother to help make one of the most popular part-time jobs for teens low stress and fun. The book provides everything teens need to know for pain-free babysitting, including a babysitting personality quiz, kid-friendly recipes, tips for finding and keeping the perfect babysitting job, strategies for negotiating wages, and more. Don't Sit on the Baby offers advice, sympathy, and tips for everything a teen babysitter can reasonably expect to experience on the job, along with strategies for managing all of the totally unreasonable things that are sure to happen as well. The second edition of this book is revised for teens navigating babysitting today with updated language and updated references to smartphones and specific apps, as well as new views on parenting. Next. Robin Wall Kimmerer's book, Braiding Sweetgrass, The Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teaching of Plants has been on the New York Times bestseller list for 83 consecutive weeks. Drawing from indigenous wisdom that centers plants and animals as the oldest teachers and her work as a scientist trained to ask questions about those same plants and animals, Kimmerer looks at the reciprocal relationship that we must have with the natural world. Children's author Monique Gray-Smith has adapted Kimmerer's teachings for a young adult audience, incorporating definitions of scientific and high-level terms, reflection questions, and calls to action throughout the text. Illustrations from Nicole Neidhart add context to the stories and the teachings. The themes that are interwoven throughout Braiding Sweetgrass align with school curriculums around environmental science and social-emotional learning, and this adaptation will help affirm the identities and beliefs of Indigenous teens while introducing non-Indigenous teens to these teachings and ways of understanding the world.